and welcome to our YouTube channel, Relationship Builders Forum. My name is Amara.
And my name is Gospel.
And if you are new on our channel, you're joining us for the first time, we want to bid you a warm welcome. Kindly hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you know when we put content out. To all our returning subscribers, it's always a joy to have you join us every single time.
Previously, we highlighted some red flags that are in relationship, which if you see them, you know you need to pause, you need to have a rethink before you make a commitment to go ahead into something serious as marriage. And in case you're wondering where that is, you'll see the link up and be able to see that video. So today we'll be looking at how to deal with those red flags. You know, some people see red flags and they run away. There is no time to process things and see how this relationship could progress. Some people see yellow flags and they think, wow, this is red flags, and they jump. Today we want you to know that red flag does not necessarily mean you have to run away from the relationship. There could be room for improvement. There could be room for you to discuss with the person and sort out things and move your relationship to the next level.
Absolutely. And now, like you said, the first thing I think that people who have identified red flags in their relationship is, you know, they need to have a sit-down conversation. So you've identified it, which is a great step, because sometimes people don't even see those red flags, right? So you've come to the point where you've identified those red flags. You need to sit down and then have that serious conversation about how do we deal with these red flags that we've identified in our relationship, because it's going to have a massive, massive impact on our relationship going forward.
Very good point you've raised there, because sometimes people see red flags. For them, those are red flags, but for their partner, those are not red flags. What they have lived with, behavior issue you've identified as a problem, for them, these are things they've normalized.
Absolutely.
For instance, someone who has been dishonest all his life feels that this is a way of life. And for you, wow, no, I can't take that. If you think about it and you don't talk about it, he or she will not know that these are red flags for you. So rather than making decisions without giving that person the benefit of the doubt, I think the best thing to do is have a conversation with the person. And don't ignore it. Don't ignore it and feel, well, let's see how it goes. Because sometimes people tend to see, okay, let's progress and see if things will change. Have that conversation. It's very important to do that.
What you just said now kind of brings me to the next point I wanted to raise, and that's around do not make a big commitment until you see change. You know, a lot of times people say, okay, we are working on it, but then let's carry on as usual. Maybe at this point you need to kind of take a pause. You need to kind of ponder on what the next step's going to be. And the next step definitely is not you saying, wow, we are in this, we're making a big step, let's take this, let's move forward with all of this. I think until you see change, then hold up on your commitment.
Yeah, the point is that don't expect change to happen when you guys get married, because obviously we are looking at a relationship that could lead to marriage. Don't expect change when marriage happens, because sometimes people say, you know what, because I expect this person to change, let's keep moving, because I know that when we are married, he or she is going to change. And we know that most times people don't change in marriage. In fact, marriage reveals the real person. So if the person you're with is not who you intend to be with, don't go into that next step. Don't ignore it. Don't go into that next step thinking that this person is going to change. And before you think about change, there has to be a plan on ground. Like we talked about having a conversation. It's really important to have that conversation, because in the process of having the conversation, that you would see the commitment on the part of the other person to engage in a process of change. For instance, you want to share with this person about issues around red flags, and this person is not even letting you engage in that conversation,
or doesn't see it as important.
That in itself is another red flag.
Yeah.
So if you're saying there is something I want us to talk about and it has to do with this or that, and the person is not engaging, the person is not trivializing what you see as a red flag, that's also a red flag indicating that this is a closed system. It means this person is not flexible to change. This person is not flexible to make the adjustment that is required.
Absolutely.
You want to add to that?
No, I think you've done justice to that, because a lot of times we tend to trivialize what some people, I mean, in a relationship, some say, that's not my priority. Well, if it's not your priority and it's my priority, then it's a problem. And this is where you really need to pause before you take that big step going forward.
Talking about not making commitment to take the relationship to the next step, you have to think about strategies. What are your strategies for change? It's not just saying, I need you to change. There has to be a plan on ground. So both of you need to work out. Does he need to go for counseling? Does he need to, if it's something that has to do with character issues, what exactly do you want him to do? What's the plan? And when do you want those changes to materialize? Because you have to have a smart goal around it. It has to be specific, it has to be measurable, it has to be actualizable, has to be realistic and time bound. So if you say, okay, now we have a plan, it's going to be a 6-month plan, you work at it and see the changes. When those milestones are not visible, then you have to have everything.
Absolutely, I do agree with you. And that also kind of brings to setting boundaries, because it's really important that you set some boundaries. Okay, this is what we need to do by so and so time. But at the same time, set boundaries to protect yourself, because if those red flags are very critical, in the sense that they are not mini red flags, because there's some red flags that are kind of significant. For example, you're in an abusive relationship, that is a massive red flag. And you might need to set some boundaries to protect yourself. Make sure that you distance yourself until you see change. And to be honest, that is one red flag that if you don't see specific and significant change, then there's no point.
Yeah, such abusive relationship should not even lead to next step.
Yeah.
Because it depends. We are trying to share our views here, but there are situations where there is no room for plans, because this is consistent. This is, for instance, physical abuse. Someone who is involved in physical abuse, there is no room for negotiation, especially when it's consistent. So the first thing to do is isolate yourself from such environment, from such relationship, and let the change happen from a distance.
Absolutely.
Before you can think about, is this something you want to do or not? Like we are saying about making those plans and making those changes and the rest of it. One of the things you need to do is to protect your values, because you talked about boundaries.
Absolutely.
Those boundaries are the principles and the values that you have set for yourself. And for instance, a man or a woman wants physical intimacy before marriage, and you know that
based on your values,
this is against your values and is consistent. Do you have to cave in because you want to please him or her, or do you want to stay by your boundaries? Because if you don't, when you're married, those boundaries that you've broken would show forth in different lights, because he will keep breaking boundaries. So the point is, set your boundaries, communicate your boundaries, and stick to it.
Absolutely. And I would say that kind of shows your respect for yourself.
Yes.
Because if you set boundaries that says, look, this is a way that I treat myself, this is the way that I go into a relationship, and if you cannot respect my value, then what's the point? Because a lot of times we keep, like you said, we keep pushing those boundaries, and people keep helping us push those boundaries. And the point is, when you get into marriage, how far can you go in terms of boundary pushing?
Yeah, because boundaries and principles are the things that define who
you are.
Our faith, our belief, and the rest of it. So if someone does not have a kind of alignment, his or her values are not in alignment with yours, then it's a problem.
Yeah, it's going to be a potential point for conflict.
Yes, in the marriage.
So drawing from what we've just said now, I think another thing that is so paramount is you staying true to yourself. Because a lot of times in a relationship in the bid to please somebody by pushing those boundaries, you lose yourself in that process. And then you find out that the person who actually started off that relationship 4, 5 months, 6 months, 1 year down the line is not that same person, right? Because you kind of lose yourself in that process. You have to stay true to who you are, your authentic self, and bring that into the relationship. And if somebody is not, happy enough to embrace your true person, then that's a problem. Now, we're not saying that if you've got weaknesses and things that you need to work on, that's a different story. Of course, it's work in progress. You have to stay and have a growth mindset and be flexible and be open to change. But it's about not losing your authentic self just because you're in a relationship.
Yes, this is really important because relationships do not define us. We define our relationship. So you don't lose who you are because you want to be in a relationship. You be yourself and you bring who you are to the relationship.
Absolutely.
And that's what makes your relationship wonderful or however it is. Another point is that you need to know when you need a third party.
Yep.
There are some red flags that both of you may not be able to deal with or may not see objectively, or you
may not see eye to eye.
You've even raised those things and the person doesn't get it.
Yeah.
And you're wondering, should I walk away or should I? Before you walk away, maybe you can try professional, because a professional will speak to both of you and give you an objective view of the situation. Absolutely. And open your eyes to the things you don't know. It might not necessarily be because you found those red flags. It could be you have self-doubt about the relationship. You don't have confidence going into this relationship. There are things you query in your mind and you want some kind of clarifications. You want to be sure that you're making the right decision. So you need a professional that can, open your eyes objectively, ask you critical questions. And with those questions, you engage in self-reflection and come to a conclusion before you make a lifetime decision.
The final point we want to raise here is about know when to walk away. Some relationships, it's not even worth your time. It's not worth you being there. You've gone through the process of communication, you've set boundaries in your relationship, you have decided to pause the relationship, you've gone as far as seeking professional help, and all of this is not really taking the relationship to the next level. Now you get to that point when you ask yourself, maybe, is this time for me to quit this relationship? And look, sometimes that is a difficult decision to make, but may not be difficult if you're objective. If you have kind of crossed all the T's and to some extent dotted all the I's, and you being realistic to yourself to say, you know what, this isn't working, right? This isn't working, right? Every single time I am with this person, I have a sense of being devalued. Every single time I'm with this person, my self-confidence is knocked. Why then do you want to stay in that relationship? Maybe it's time for you to move on, right?
Yeah, because the thing is that people find it difficult to walk away from relationships because of the investment of time, investment of resources, investment of emotion, investment of painting this picture of the future with this person, and you're wondering, how do I separate myself from all of those? The thing, we have always believed that a broken courtship or a broken relationship is better than a broken marriage. So it's better for you to take the heat now, to feel the pain now. Don't postpone your pain, because pain could come in marriage. So it's better you take the heat, take the pain, heal, and find the right person who would make a good relationship. Remember, your marriage is who you are. Your marriage is who you have chosen to be with. Both of you are coming together to build things, to build this together. If you don't make the right choice, no matter how much you want to have the best marriage, it's not going to work.
Sure. Now we could go on and talk about other things and other solutions. And now you're watching this video, and maybe there's something that sort of popped in your head and said, this also in itself is a solution. to dealing with red flags? Please could you put it on the comment section below, or maybe there's something we said that kind of resonated with you. Please also put that on the comments, and we would love to read your comments. Now, you might find that this video will be valuable to somebody, right? Feel free to share this video, like this video, and maybe you were just watching us and you're new to our channel, you forgot to hit the subscribe button. Now is the time for you to do it, because we would love to have you as part of our community. And to all our returning subscribers, thank you for always engaging with our content. And until the next episode, it's goodbye from us.